Right. Let's start off today with these little tapping exercises. They're a good way. I often finish the class with them, I know, but they're a good way of starting off as well. So start by just rubbing your hands together and with the pads of your fingers, just tapping lightly over your face. Begin to work up over your head and neck, fingers or palms of your hands. Down to one shoulder. And there's no particular order to these things. I always do them in this order. But as you do this, it's not just about the physical side of it, but also it's a good way of actually bringing your attention into your body, just noticing the vibrations on the muscles, for instance, as you do this. Change sides. And on your back. If with one hand or with both hands, covering as much of the back as you can do comfortably. Working down towards your hips, circling around your hips. And your legs. Your belly. And the upper part. And then just standing comfortably, feet hip width apart, and with a little bit forwards, let your hips drop back. We're starting to turn in this center part of your body. And this feeling of coming into your body, this thing of drawing your attention into your body is really the first stage in whatever level you're, whether you're experienced with this or whether you're new to it, that gathering of mind and body, that harmonizing of mind and body is really one of the things that we want to carry with us. And it's one of the great benefits of the art. It has this sort of centering, grounding quality of us. So initially, I would always suggest that we're not trying desperately to get into the perfect posture or make the perfect movement. We're gradually just building up this awareness of what's going on in your body, how you're feeling, and paying attention to the subtleties of the posture insofar as you're able to. These details, they're important in their own right. They're important for good posture and something that we continually work on, Tai Chi. At the same time, they're a good sort of way of anchoring your attention. We're not trying to concentrate, which I always think is a fairly hard term. It can be quite exhausting, I think. We're just trying to get a sense of settling. A boat that's anchored on the surface of the water still moves around, but doesn't drift off too far. You will find that if you're anything like me anyway, that you get distracted by your own thoughts, noise outside or whatever. And that can vary to a degree. If you've been very busy or you've got a lot going on, or maybe you've got a busy weekend coming up and you've got to plan things, then that tendency to get distracted will probably be much stronger. So we're not looking for this kind of sense of being totally still or whatever. And the process of bringing your attention back I think is reflected in the movements, the slower movements when we get them. It's kind of rhythm of an expansion followed by a contraction, and that's both physically as the arms move out, and come back, and whatever. And our attention follows that. So on a regular basis, we learn to sort of come back to touch base. And those little moments of doing that start to be, I find, very valuable to us. Beginning to focus your attention into this area of the center of the body, and from there down into the ground. So we actually develop a sense of a physical location for that grounding quality. It's the center part of your body that, as you turn, is going to move, in particular your arms. The center part of your body that you want to feel is beginning to drop towards the ground. We use the term sitting sometimes. And we begin to learn to focus our attention and our intention through the central part. I sometimes describe this area, I'm talking about the area between hips and pelvis and waist, as being like a telephone exchange or one of these sort of internet server buildings where messages and impulses come into the building and the rig there, and then go out to their destination. So it becomes an increasingly important and an increasingly useful point of focus. Just turning your hands palm out, raising them up a little bit, no higher than your shoulders, but maybe not that high. Just try and have a sense of how far it's appropriate for you to do. We don't want to strain. We don't want to feel that we're pulling on the body. We want the movement within the body to have a sense of fluidity, a sense of harmony. Dropping your hands down. Turn one foot out, come one foot out, put the other foot forward, toes pointing forwards, and then just to start off with, think in terms of pushing yourself forwards and backwards, using your feet, using your legs to propel your body, rather than, as is often the case, leading with the upper part of your body. So we're moving from the ground. Again, this term grounded. When we use that in Tai Chi, there's nothing metaphorical about it. It's literally feeling the ground beneath our feet. Just letting the weight transfer. Noticing that when you do that, you're again turning in the center of the body, and that's moving your arms here. All of this comes into the slower movement, but it can be quite difficult to start off with the slower movements. It's as though, we all of us have busy lives, and we need to sort of like slow down gradually. You can't force yourself to be still. You just end up being busy trying to be still. But we can gradually sort of put the brakes on, as it were, and let things settle. And then change over. and then just shake out. So these initial exercises, I mean, that was 10 minutes, just a little bit of massage, a little bit of movement. They're valuable practices in and of their own right. They're excellent preparation for what we're about to do now. But they are good exercises to start off with, because some of the really key points that we're looking for in Tai Chi can actually be a little bit more readily accessible to us. But now look a little bit more closely at this posture, standing with your feet hip width apart, toes pointing forward as much as possible. Always try and get a sense of why we're doing something. It's not just a case of taking a posture that you've been told to take and hoping it will become appropriate for you at some point in the future. We have our feet below, so hip width apart, so that they support our hips. Too close together or too wide apart, and it can start to become trickier. You can measure the hip width from the outside of your foot, or anywhere between there and the inside of your feet. I prefer slightly wide stance, but there's variation. We're all slightly different physically. Toes pointing forward, so that there's this sense of focus, a sense of purpose, if you like. You can have the feet slightly turned out, but too far turned out, and then you're starting to sort of twist things around. If you're somebody like myself whose feet naturally turn out, then this is a gradual process of bringing the feet around, not forced, not tightening in your knees or. And from this position, just slowly push your shoulders up towards your ears and then let them drop down. Noticing that sensation as your shoulders drop down, that sense of what we would call in Tai Chi various ways of releasing, softening, letting go. How does that feel in the muscles of your chest, your shoulders, your upper back? Getting that sense that your shoulders drop inwards and downwards until they finally seem to rest on your rib cage. We're doing this with this upper part of the body to familiarize ourselves with this particular sensation. And now try the same thing with the middle part of your body, the area from pelvis to hips. So put your belly in gently, don't go hard at this, put your hips in, and then releasing them again, just noticing that sensation, a general sense of movement inwards and downwards. One of the things that I notice very much when I do this in the center of my body is that it has an effect on my shoulders. And when I tighten up here, my shoulders and back tighten up, as do my thighs and my knees. So when we release, what happens is, if I'll exaggerate slightly, I release my hips, my thighs release, and my knees release, and I develop this very soft curve in my knees. And also this strong sense of dropping downwards. This is what we call rooting down. Rooting down is our center of gravity dropping lower, ideally through the ground. And I introduce it like this today because I think we need to recognize that this isn't just about the knees bending. There is this slight change in the knees, but we often see Tai Chi done with very deep postures. The knees bend a lot, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but remember that it is possible to bend your knees and not move down. And you have to be careful, of course. If you're not used to this, it can end up being a strain on the knees, which is not the point. So as you release this time, just feel that downward movement, the pull of gravity through your hips, and let them drop down a little bit further. Feel it strong in your legs, and then push them up. Then at the top of the movement, letting gravity once again take over, draw you down. And the natural resilience, the springiness in your legs will push you up. Remember, it's not simply a case of bending the knees a lot in order to move down. It's this internal feeling of dropping down. And then notice what's happening as you come up. Are you tightening up again? Sometimes we find ourselves gripping the muscles of the legs. Sometimes we find that happening in the upper part. And so once again, having become aware of what it feels like to release, we just try and apply that same quality. We have an intention to release, not just as we go down, but as we come up. And this begins to help us develop a sense of this very distinctive flowing movement. The idea being that at no point do we feel that we have to stiffen up, to strain. We retain a sense of suppleness in the body. And a sense that there's some space. When we tighten up, it's like wearing a tight pair of shoes or something like that. There's no space for movement. But when we can release that tightness, we leave a space for that internal movement, that flow of the energy. As your hips get pushed up, they push up into your shoulders, you get a feeling of expansion through the upper part of your body. And this time, bringing your hands around as though they're cradling the ball. And as you push up, let the expansion push your elbows out. Turning your hands over so the ball is now underneath your arms. Let the hips drop, your shoulders follow, your arms follow the shoulders. Rooting down. Bottom of the movement, turn your hands and again, gradually feeling that focus of your attention comes perhaps a little bit more deeply into your body. And there's always an intentional quality to these movements. It's hard to focus your intention consciously if your attention is elsewhere. One of the things that we can begin to notice is the connection between this focusing of our minds and the releasing feeling we were just looking at and the quality of the movement. When we lose that quality of the movement, it's a fair bet that we probably let our thoughts drift away, and just gently draw your attention back. Don't make it a harsh movement. One of the images that we commonly use in Tai Chi is that we're moving through water, because the quality of the movement is very akin to the way that we would move in water. Somebody did once describe Tai Chi as swimming in the giant. Your breathing just come naturally. You may find it's quite naturally following the rhythm of your movements, but don't force a breathing pattern or a breathing method. This time, as you get to the bottom of the movement, rotate your hands so your fingers face away from the shoulders and push up. The arms coming out a little bit more. Exercise the wild goose. It may be that the image of the bird in flight also offers a quality, maybe a smoothness of movement, a grace of movement, perhaps even a strength. And then as you drop down this time, letting your hands drop down to their full length and cross in front of you, push up. Parting the clouds. Slightly obscure name, but maybe that image of the sun coming out from behind the clouds and that expansiveness that we might associate with that is helpful. Recognizing how responsive our bodies can be to imagery. This is a very natural thing for us, I think. But in Tai Chi, we make deliberate use of it. So in various ways, our minds influence our movements, and our movements influence our minds. It's a two-way process. This is not mind over matter. One more time. And then letting your hands just curl under, going back to rooting down. Combining these movements in a little sequence of 3. Don't rush the change over. You get it the wrong way around, you get it in the wrong order, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, we try not to. But really just noticing the change. Each movement in Tai Chi has a lot in common with all the other movements, but will also have its own features, its own distinctive patterns of expansion and contraction within your body. Once again, try and get that sense of the movement, the energy rising from the ground, flowing back in. Letting your hands drop down to your sides this time, and focusing on one side of your body, expanding at the top of the movement. Just wrap your fingers around gently and pull down, all the way down. Changing sides to dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Once again, try not to rush the change over. We can sometimes feel ourselves, I think, and certainly feel it myself sometimes, that you're doing this movement, you get up there, you start to pull down, and as your hand's coming down, this other hand is trying to move. Just remind yourself that you don't need to rush. And once again, we can use the attention to detail to help with that slowing down. So with this one, I sometimes think of it in 3 stages: on the expansion and contraction on one side, a slight shift of my attention to the center of the body, and then to the other side, then expanding and contract. Once again, recognizing that this attention to detail and the increasing tendency in Tai Chi to focus on these details, to work with these small, subtle changes, having benefits for both mind and body. Now, bringing your hands to the sides of your center, just like maybe resting gently against your hips. Just letting your hips sink back. We're not going up and down at this point, but we do want that sense of just settling back, almost as though you're sitting on a fence or something like that. We're feeling your lower back, hips and buttocks slightly overhanging. So you're allowing that movement, that pull of gravity through your body downwards, and that movement upwards, the response from the ground, the response from picking up on that, the hands being pushed up towards the ceiling, and then back down, taking time to return your hands to that starting position, and then lifting and pushing out sideways. And back. Try and keep your hands slightly in front of your body, so your back feels longer and broader, and just be aware of that gentle movement in the back. So the back, as though you're being gently massaged on the incline. And the other thing about this exercise, I think that's important, is that we actively bring our hands back, bring our attention back, once again to the center of the body. And this time, as you push out, turn in the center, noticing again how when you turn, it redirects your arms. And then back, taking time to come back, turning the other way. Coming back, not losing that sensation in your back, and then facing forwards and pushing it. Again, you can use the image of moving through water. That feels appropriate to you. Doesn't matter which way you turn first. In that rhythm of expansion, yang, contraction. One more round of this. And then once again, your hands dropping down. Take time to just feel the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders. And once again, focusing on one side, letting the expansion, push your arm out so it swings up until it's in line with your nose, straight down the center line. Don't overextend. Should always feel that you could have moved a little bit further. So we cultivate that space for movement within the body. And then if it's comfortable, this time when your hand gets to the top, just turn. Maybe draw your arm across a little bit. It can be quite a strong movement, so go nice and carefully. Don't let the movement pull your hips out of line and shoulders out of line. Now change sides. Once again, adding the turn. Remember, hips dropping back a little bit. Strong in your legs, so don't overdo this. And drop down. Now, just thinking about again the center part of the body, gently tilt forwards and backwards. So tilt the pelvis forwards and backwards. Notice the effect that that will have on your shoulders. When you tilt forward, your hips go back a little bit. Head and shoulders will go forwards. When gravity pulls your hips down, the pelvis levels off, you come upright. And maybe just a little bit back. But the main thing to focus on here is that pushing back of your hips so that your shoulders go forwards. It's still quite strong on your back. What we want to avoid doing is straining and trying to pull ourselves up, letting gravity pull your hips back as though you were sitting into a chair. Just kind of rolling backwards, letting your weight drop down. This for me is one of the really interesting aspects of the Tai Chi posture, how rather than getting into a fight with gravity, straining against gravity to pull yourself up, we actually allow gravity to pull our hips downwards and come up nice and smoothly and openly. So we're going to use this in the next two movements very carefully because they're both quite strong movements in back and legs. This time, as you push your hips back, also drop down a little bit. Let your hips drop back, getting that nice smooth feeling coming up, and then pushing up. And again, it's not necessarily the case in Tai Chi that we would value bigger movements over smaller. So think about, be aware of how far you can move without straining. The strong feature of this is what's happening once again in the center of the body. And this time, as you push up, your arms following, this is rowing the boat in the middle of the leg. Just gently extending through the spine, then into your arms and the fingers, and coming back, sitting back. Push. Remember, you should always feel as though you couldn't move a little bit further. Keeping a strong part of your attention on what's happening within your body. And always with an underlying intention of releasing. Do one more of these. And then your hands just palm downwards. Rotate and then push your hips back again so your hands slide forward, swing around, come back to the center. Rest there for a moment. And then same thing in the other direction. It's called polishing the table. And just so you can see from the back how my hips are working. Again, don't overextend. That feeling of releasing will gradually help you to extend your range of movement. So it's not that we don't want the bigger movements, it's more how we get. It's not by straining, but through this process of softening. One more in each direction. and then just stand. Give your next. So that releasing feeling, Chinese term is sun, and we translate that variously, releasing, to soften, to let go of tightness, to relax, to calm. So depending on the context, but it's that which allows gravity to work through us without resistance. It's that which draws our center of gravity down. So when we hear of Tai Chi being really helpful, as it is for people with stability problems, maybe with falling or something like that, actually we achieve that not by stiffening up, not by straining, but essentially by relaxing, which is a difficult thing to do. And it's if it's something that you're interested in developing, give yourself plenty of time to develop that. So one way of practicing it, because it's counterintuitive, is to hold on to something, a wall or something like that, so you have a little bit of security and you can play around with this idea. Now, changing the stance. So from the parallel stance here, imagine parallel lines going across the floor, like tram lines we sometimes refer to. Train with it. Turn one foot out, step forwards again with the other foot. Try and make sure that front foot points straight forwards. And once again, with a gentle push, begin to transfer your weight. So we want this to be a precise movement. I want my weight from my back foot to go into my front foot. There. I don't want it to go that way, because then I start to lose stability and I start to fall down. To begin with, it really shouldn't be a big movement, and even later, we can start to think about how much of the weight is moving, what percentage of the weight is moving. When we go to the front foot, have 60% there. When we move to the back foot, it's just a bit more than that, 70%. But at this point, no more than that. And after a while, see if you can feel that there's a change in our intention. I've talked about pushing yourself forwards and backwards. It's a good starting point. But actually, you'll find, once again, as we did in the parallel postures, that allow yourself to drop into your legs, so it loads the leg, and then it expands. Let that movement moving forward. Imagine what it would be like to do this on a trampoline or a bouncy castle. It's dropping down that provides the energy for the upward, forwards, expanding. Trying not to lean. Notice if you're sort of stiffening up in your shoulders. It's a very common. You're just trying to keep your body upright. And then when you go into your back foot, gently raise the front toes and you'll shift back a little bit further. And forwards, push your back knee forwards, push it forwards. I like to have my front foot slightly turned out at this point, so I want more of my weight to go down through my hip, gradually bringing yourself to a point where the upper part of your body is more in line and your head is directly above your supporting foot and hip. So that percentage of weight increasing, trying to keep hips and pelvis level. Remember, to be upright, we don't want to strain, because that brings our center of gravity up and everything gets a bit wobbly. Rather, we want to release, to drop down, to allow gravity to work through our body. A really important focal point there is what's happening in our hips. And then you can bring your foot in. When you step out, put your heel down, lower your toes, gently press the foot into the ball of your plant, but move your weight forwards. This time, settle into the front foot, bring the back foot in. This time, when you step out, put the ball of the foot down, then the heel, then that planting movement. It's like you're walking on soft sand, and you put your foot on the ground, and then you press in just to find the firmer sand underneath. Okay, show that. Now, try that with the other foot forwards and begin to again transfer your weight. It's very normal, very ordinary to find that you're more stable over one leg than another. You'll also find that there are those times when, regardless of how long you've been doing this, in my experience, I've been doing this for over 40 years, so you still get little moments when you wobble around. And actually, in some ways, those are quite useful because, you know, in a practical sense, we do have these moments when we maybe slight tilt in the pavement, or we slip on something, or whatever. We lose that stability. So learning how to work with that is a really useful thing. And again, it's this quality of song, this quality of releasing that we look. I'm not suggesting you deliberately make yourself wobble around, although you could do that. But if you do that, this is where you would hold on to something, because obviously you're experimenting as a trial and error thing here. It'll always be safe. Beginning to raise your toes and the heel. Again, you could use that image when you do, just aware that, you know, as you go forward, you'll feel the pressure of the water. And as you go back, you'll feel it on the back. So again, aware of a change within your body. Stepping in. Onto the back. And then taking a few steps through, you go forward or backwards, depending on where you have the space. And just giving yourself time for reflection on this process of walking. We often walk. Those of us who are capable of walking, we walk to something, to do something, to see something. We don't always give time to reflect on this lovely process of walking itself. And then going back. Again, this is an exercise you can do. All is ideal. Just put one hand on the ball, so that when you get those moments when you're wobbling around, just see what happens. You know, is it possible to release your hips a bit so that you get used to this idea? As I say, it's counterintuitive, but it's a very useful, very practical skill to be able to take with you, to train yourself not to stiffen up, but to settle down. It might be the thing that prevents you from falling over. Now put your right foot forwards. So now coming back to bringing the arms into the movement, try not to lose a sense of what's happening in the lower body. We cultivate a sense of the whole body, moving as one unit. And this too has this quality of just drawing our attention and gathering our attention. I think some days we use the phrase, don't we? I'm all over the place today. You put your keys down, turn around, pick something else up, turn around, can't find your keys. What have you done with them? We can feel very kind of scatty. We all have days like that, I think. We all have times like that. This whole practice brings us back to something much more cohesive, much more settled. And so it can be quite useful to bring the arms into the movement, but also to try and maintain that focus of attention, feet and legs and weight and so on. Start with your weight in the back foot, ease forwards, just let your arms swing forwards as you settle into that front foot and then going back. So you're moving through water. It's called fisherman cast technique. Just feeling the swing of your arms. You're not trying to lift your arms, just letting them drop down. And as they go forwards, they'll swing up a little bit. Try not to stiffen up in your wrists or your fingers. This time from the front foot, as you go back, turn to your left, so turn towards your back foot. Letting the arms swing across in the same way. So by turning in the center, you redirect your arms. Just let the movement build so your arms come up a little bit higher, no higher than shoulder height. Go forwards, let your arms get drawn down. Turn, bringing your hands across your hips, letting them swing up. Turn the hands palm down and back. So your hands moving in figure of eight, sideways figure of eight movement. You might want to just imagine that shape, trying to be letting your hands, maybe your whole body, just flow through that shape. Your weight moving, the center turning, the patterns of expansion and contraction in your upper body. All of these combining to move your arms. Your arms and hands express all of those movements. Good. Okay, and then take out. The other starts in the same way, fisherman cast net. This is a lovely exercise to really feel this combination of the weight moving, center spacing straight forward, so your arms are swinging forwards and backwards, feeling those patterns of movement within the body. It's a lovely sort of wave-like energy coming from the ground through your body, back into the back. And because it's so simple, we can develop that inner awareness of it. So you're moving through water, moving like water. And then turning, Once again, recognizing that pattern of movement, there's an extension out and then a drawing back in, and see that extension outwards. We may lose the quality of the movement, we may lose the stability. But a really key part of Tai Chi is not necessarily that we're always in perfect posture, we're always perfectly calm, we're always centered and grounded. Life is not that simple, but that we do have a way back. Changing into the figure of eight. And we're going to combine this with stepping that we did earlier. You go forwards or backwards, whichever is most appropriate. And I'm going to go forward, so I'm going to turn that front foot out, go forwards. As my hand comes across my hips, begin to rise up, I'll bring my foot in. I step forwards, planting the foot, move forwards. And if it's comfortable for you, you can do so without risking yourself. You may just want to bring your knee up. And again, you may get that little wobble. But see if you can just let yourself settle. Take your time. And then change the direction. You haven't done so yet. And shake it. If you don't feel confident to do that, stepping in that way, you could just do it here and in one place, and here I've still got the wall behind me. So if I do have a little stumble, I can just sit back against the wall, or even from side to side. So again, we can find a way into these movements that can actually, have to build our confidence, restore the confidence in our own bodies. Don't think that when you wobble around that you're no good. These are difficult exercises. I mentioned earlier somebody referring to Tai Chi as swimming on dry land. That was a very well known, very much beloved teacher called T.T. Liang, taught in the United States. Not somebody I ever worked with, but he was known for his sense of humor. And somebody must have said to him at some point how he was always perfectly balanced, and he denied this. And he said that he lost balance all the time. He just got it back all the time. And I was delighted when I heard that, because I thought, yeah, I thought somehow I was failing, because every now and then I'd have a little wobble. Maybe there are people out there who never have those little wobbles, but I strongly suspect that most of us do in all sorts of ways. And it's that sense of returning that I think is, for me, is one of the great gifts of Tai Chi. So the last exercise that I like to finish with is a reflection of that. When we stand in this position, or even if we would sit and do this, then the term for the quality, the feel of it, is central equilibrium. The Chinese term is Zhongding. And it's expressed in various ways, but the image of the mountain, and I always have this image of a kind of soul mountain standing up. The mountains are very rooted. There's a stillness about the mountains. They're also very strong, but there's also a sense of spaciousness and openness about them. So it's kind of, the image kind of encapsulates many of those qualities. And this last exercise is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. So the real emphasis on that sense of coming back. And as we get into the exercise, a useful thing to do and a useful thing to take away with you is just a sense of what it is that brings you back. It might be something physical, some kind of physical sensation that you get in your body. It might be that image of the mountain. It might be something different entirely. But you know, when you standing in a queue, or you're in a traffic jam, or the train's late, or you know, all these little things that, or you can't find your keys, or you know, when you have that little trip or something like that, what would be most useful for you to remember? Start by sinking down, push up. This is the expanding part, but after this, bringing your arms around as though you're holding the board against your chest. Let your elbows drop, turn your hands palm down, hips drop, shoulders drop, and Embrace Tiger, return. Should do one more of these. And just stand. Maybe take a couple of slow jumps. Nice, give yourself a punch. Lovely. Always, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in, watching whatever you've been doing. Bye for now.